Hello and welcome back to CNBG News. I'm Corey Emanuel. In today's top stories, Greece selects new prime minister. After days of wrangling, Greece has chosen Lucas Papademos, a respected economist, as the new prime minister today. He will head a unity government that has pledged to quickly approve the tough terms of a European aid package and save the country from bankruptcy. When asked about his appointment, Papademos said, "The course will not be easy, but the problems I'm convinced will be solved. They will be solved faster, with a smaller cost, and in an efficient way, if there is unity, agreement, and prudence." Well, last night was not a good night for Republican presidential candidate Rick Perry. Wednesday night's CNBC presidential debate is certainly one we won't soon forget. When asked to name the third federal agency he vows to abolish, Perry had a brain freeze. Some say this could be a major game changer for Perry, seriously damaging his fundraising ability. Speaking of Republican presidential candidates, one of Herman Cain's sexual harassment accusers, Sharon Bialek, told reporters on Wednesday that the man has complete amnesia, and I really believe that he believes in himself, she said. Pathological liars usually do those kinds of things. Bialek said she was so proud of another of Cain's accusers, Karen Krashar, for coming forward by name. Two other women who said Cain behaved improperly toward them have not been identified publicly. Cain, a businessman and former National Restaurant Association executive, has insisted that he did not sexually harass anyone. Can cutting back on salt raise your cholesterol? According to a new study published Wednesday in the American Journal of Hypertension, cutting back on salt consumption can lead to a drop in blood pressure, but that health benefit could be offset in some people by a small increase in cholesterol levels. This latest review of the current research points once again to the paucity of knowledge when it comes to predicting the benefits we'll reap from putting down the salt shaker and buying low-sodium products. The researchers concluded that switching from a high-sodium to a low-sodium diet in those who are white and don't have hypertension decreases blood pressure by less than 1%. For those who have hypertension, as well as all blacks and Asians, reducing sodium intake led to greater drops in blood pressure, perhaps enough to outweigh the cholesterol-raising effects. The researchers, though, pointed out that there weren't enough data from the studies to determine this for certain. For now, the federal government has chosen to rely on firm evidence that reducing sodium reduces blood pressure, and last year recommended that people limit their daily sodium intake. In other words, if you're in the government's higher risk category, you should make certain to lower your efforts in lowering salt intake, and you can do so by not shaking the salt to your heart's content. More controversy surrounds Michael Jackson's estate today. Executors for the estate of Michael Jackson demanded Wednesday that MSNBC drop its plan to air a reprehensible documentary that promises a behind-the-scenes glimpse of Jackson's relationship with Dr. Conrad Murray. In a letter to MSNBC, President Phil Griffin and the cable channel's corporate overseers, the Jackson representatives argued that Murray, convicted Monday of involuntary manslaughter in Jackson's death, uses the documentary to shift the blame post-conviction to Michael Jackson, even though a jury considered the evidence and rejected this very argument. MSNBC purchased Michael Jackson and the Doctor, A Fatal Friendship, from British production company Zodiac Rights, and plans to air it Friday and Monday night, along with an exclusive interview with Murray by NBC News correspondent Savannah Guthrie. Are the 2012 Academy Awards getting a makeover? Hollywood star and comedian Eddie Murphy quit as host of the upcoming Oscars on Wednesday, one day after the show's producer resigned for making an anti-gay comment, organizers said. Within hours of Murphy's departure, the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences announced a replacement for Brett Ratner, who stepped down Tuesday as producer of Hollywood's annual awards. "I appreciate how Eddie feels about losing his creative partner, Brett Ratner, and we all wish him well," said Academy President Tom Sherrack. "I was truly looking forward to being a part of the show that our production team and writers were just starting to develop, but I'm sure that the new production team and hosts will do an equally great job," Murphy said. The 84th Annual Academy Awards show will air Sunday, February 26, 2012. In sports news today, Penn State's head football coach Joe Paterno has been fired. Paterno was ousted Wednesday night by Penn State's Board of Trustees, even though he'd said earlier in the day he would retire at the end of the 46th season. Fired because he didn't do enough to stop a child sex abuse scandal centered around former defensive coordinator Jerry Sandusky. Paterno was not accused of any legal wrongdoing, but he has been criticized for not doing more to stop Sandusky, with the state police commissioner calling it a lapse in moral responsibility. And Paterno himself said Wednesday he wished he'd done more, calling it one of the great sorrows of my life. Penn State trustees have chosen defensive coordinator Tom Bradley to serve as interim coach. A poll released Tuesday painted a picture of a religious electorate that has strong preference toward religious candidates. According to the Public Religion Research Institute survey, 2/3 of voters said it is either very important or somewhat important for a presidential candidate to have strong religious beliefs. At the same time, the electorate is split over their comfort level with the specific religion, Mormonism, and the prospect of a Mormon serving as president. A majority of voters said they were somewhat or very comfortable with a Mormon president, while 42% said a Mormon president would make them somewhat or very uncomfortable. The level of comfort with a Mormon president has risen to importance in the 2012 nomination battle because there are two Mormon candidates in the race, former Massachusetts Governor Mitt Romney and former Utah Governor Jon Huntsman. In the most recent USA Today Gallup poll, Romney is tied with businessman Herman Cain at the top of the field, a position Romney has maintained throughout the race. In more news from around the U.S., a 19-year-old Marine was found dead in his Camp Pendleton barracks. Investigators say he had been beaten to death by a fellow Marine. Lance Corporal Mario Arias Jr. from Canoga Park, California, was attacked at the San Diego County base over the weekend. The Naval Criminal Investigation Service said the suspect is being treated in a hospital for significant injuries sustained when he jumped from a third-floor balcony. Two sources at Camp Pendleton said the suspect was apparently drinking when he was confronted by Arias about his alcohol use, causing the suspect to become enraged. A close friend says his sister was also a Marine. He looked up to her, admired her, and wanted to follow in her footsteps. Mississippi voters Tuesday rejected a controversial amendment that would have defined life as beginning at conception. The Mississippi amendment would have made it impossible to get an abortion in the state and hampered the ability to get the morning after pill or birth control pills that destroy fertilized eggs. Disposing of unused fertilized eggs could also have become illegal, making in vitro fertilization treatments more difficult. Pro-life groups around the nation opposed the measure, and the Catholic Church of Mississippi called it extreme. 2 p.m. Eastern Wednesday marked the first ever nationwide test of the Emergency Alert System, a system with Cold War roots that enables the president to address the American public within 10 minutes from any location at any time. Although state and local communities regularly use the system to notify communities about tornadoes, child abductions, and other events, all previous tests of the system have been local or regional. Today's test is the first national test featuring a live presidential alert code, which instructs TV and radio stations that the alert takes priority over all other programming. The test aired on every broadcast cable and satellite TV station in the nation, as well as every AM, FM, and satellite radio station. In the event of a real emergency, the test would originate from wherever the president is. The test was brief and only lasted 30 seconds from start to finish. This and more news coming up right here on CMBG News.